Scientifically proven top 10 ways to communicate with your dog. Are you looking for ways to better communicate with your dog? If so, you're in luck. Recent scientific research has revealed the top 10 scientifically proven ways to effectively communicate with your dog. From using body language to verbal commands, these methods can help you create a strong bond with your pup. Continue watching to find out the best ways to communicate with your dog. 1. Speak in a high-pitched voice. One of the most important things to do when trying to communicate with your dog is to speak in a high-pitched voice. Dogs are naturally attracted to higher-pitched voices, and it helps them to better understand what you're saying. It's not just about speaking louder, but rather making sure your words come out in a higher pitch that dogs can recognize and respond to. It's also important to remember to keep your tone gentle, as shouting or talking too loudly can startle or scare your dog. When you do talk to your dog, make sure to use the same inflection and tone that you would use when speaking to a child or baby. This will ensure that your pup is more likely to pay attention and respond positively to what you're saying. 2. Get down to their level. One of the best ways to communicate with your dog is by getting down to their level. Dogs are much smaller than us, so if we want to be able to effectively communicate with them, we must get down on their level. This means getting on the floor or crouching down so that we can look into their eyes and be on the same eye level as them. Doing this will help make your dog more comfortable with you and less intimidated. This can also help to build trust between you and your pup, and it's a great way to establish a strong bond. In addition, it's also a great way to get closer to your dog and make them feel loved and appreciated. When your dog feels comfortable and secure, they will be more likely to respond positively to your communication attempts. 3. Make eye contact. When trying to communicate with your dog, eye contact is essential. Dogs are extremely sensitive to our facial expressions, and they use them to interpret our moods and emotions. When you look into their eyes, they'll understand that you're giving them your attention, and they'll be more likely to respond to your commands. When you first establish eye contact with your dog, keep it short and gentle. Too much eye contact can make a dog feel uncomfortable or threatened, so only make direct eye contact for a few seconds at a time, and then quickly break it off. Over time, as you both become more comfortable with each other, you can gradually increase the duration of your eye contact. 4. Use hand gestures. Hand gestures can be an effective way to communicate with your dog. When teaching your dog a new command, try using a hand gesture while saying the word. Dogs will learn to associate the hand gesture with the command. For example, if you're teaching your dog to sit, use a downward pointing finger as you say sit. This will help your dog understand what you want him to do. It's also helpful to use hand gestures when playing with your dog. For example, when playing fetch, use a throwing motion with your arm to show your dog where you want them to go get the ball. Hand signals can also be used to stop or start activities. If your dog is getting too rowdy, a raised palm can be used to signal for them to stop. 5. Use facial expressions. Facial expressions are one of the best ways to communicate with your dog. Dogs understand facial expressions better than words, so it's important to use them when communicating. Make sure to keep your facial expressions happy and friendly when speaking to your pup. Show affection by smiling at your pup and give them a few seconds to respond before speaking. It is also important to show your displeasure when needed. You can do this by frowning or narrowing your eyes slightly. Don't be too dramatic with the negative expression. Just a slight change in the facial features should be enough. Be careful not to scare your pup with a sudden change in expression. Finally, it's important to make sure your pup understands what you're feeling. 6. Don't shout. Shouting at your dog will only make them more anxious and cause them to shut down. This can also lead to aggression and a general mistrust of humans. Dogs do not understand English or any other language, so yelling at them will not help them learn any faster or become better behaved. Instead, Use a calm but firm voice when communicating with your dog, and be consistent with your commands. By speaking in a gentle but clear voice, your dog will learn much faster and be more likely to listen. When disciplining your dog, never use physical punishment. Instead, focus on positive reinforcement to correct bad behaviors. 7. Be consistent. One of the most important things you can do when communicating with your dog is to be consistent. Dogs learn best when you set boundaries and stick to them. This will help your dog understand what behavior is acceptable and what behavior isn't. It's important to establish a routine for your dog and stick to it, even if it seems inconvenient for you. For example, if you're trying to teach your dog not to bark excessively, make sure to reprimand them every time they bark, even if you're feeling tired or busy. Establishing consistent rules will help your dog become better at following them. It's also a good idea to use consistent body language and verbal cues when training your dog. If you're always telling your dog to sit by pointing at the ground with one hand while saying sit, they'll eventually learn to associate those two actions together. 8. Reward good behavior. One of the best ways to communicate with your dog is to reward good behavior. Positive reinforcement is a great way to teach your dog new behaviors and also to build a strong bond between you and your pup. When your dog does something that you approve of, make sure to praise them verbally and give them a treat. This will show them that they're doing something right, and they'll be much more likely to repeat the behavior in the future. If your dog has been particularly well behaved, you can also give them a longer-lasting reward like a special toy or even a trip to the park. When you are using positive reinforcement to communicate with your pup, it's important to remember that timing is key. If you wait too long after they've performed the desired behavior to reward them, they won't understand why they are being rewarded. Try to reward your pup immediately after they've done something correctly. This way, they'll know exactly what they're being rewarded for and will be more likely to repeat the behavior in the future. 9. Positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is an incredibly powerful tool for communicating with your dog. This technique involves rewarding good behavior with something that your dog enjoys, such as verbal praise or treats. Dogs love positive reinforcement, so it is a great way to teach them good behaviors and to communicate effectively. When using positive reinforcement, make sure to be consistent and to reward only the behaviors that you want to see more of. Positive reinforcement is a great way to effectively communicate with your dog and to encourage good behaviors. With patience and consistency, you will be able to create a strong bond with your pup and train him to follow your commands. 10. Have patience. Patience is key when it comes to communicating with your dog. Dogs don't understand things like humans do, so it's important to have patience and not expect them to understand things right away. It takes time for a dog to learn, especially if you are trying to teach them something new. When training your dog, be sure to be consistent and always offer positive reinforcement for good behavior. If your dog is struggling to understand something, give them plenty of time and patience before moving on to something else. Remember that dogs are smart creatures, and they will eventually pick up on the cues you are giving them. Just make sure to be patient and encouraging throughout the process. If you like the video, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Please let us know in the comment box about your opinion, and do recommend some topics you want to see in the video in the future.